He's Matt Streb. Matt, good morning to you.
Hey, Riley, what's going on?
How you doing this morning, Matt?
I'm hanging in there. A little overcast and cold out, I guess, but not too bad otherwise.
You know, I was thinking about it's 51 degrees and cloudy. If this were March, you would have people out in shorts, T-shirts, greeting spring with every fiber of their being. Now it's in September. You got people grabbing coats. You got somebody looking for their Uggs. It's all about the month.
You're exactly right. No, I left. I worked out this morning. I left the gym, and as I was leaving, I thought, man, it's chilly out here. But you're exactly right. If we had just come off months of 10, 20, 30-degree weather, this would feel great right now.
Oh, yeah. You'd walk out, it's perfect. Yeah, I got to do some stuff outside today. Yard work or but no. Today you're inside. I actually had the space heater working in the office earlier. I'm ashamed of myself, frankly.
Yeah, well, you can't complain. We can't complain too much about the weather. We've had a pretty good run the last couple of weeks. So,
speaking of runs, talk to me a little bit about Husky football.
Yeah, we obviously we're struggling a little bit, and we've had a couple tough losses, and we're as we said a couple weeks ago when we talked, we haven't really been in this situation before, and I think that some of the guys are struggling a little bit with that. They haven't been in a situation where they've had a losing streak, and so I think overall the mood of the team is still positive. I think that's important, and we're getting ready to go into Mid-American Conference play right now, and it's a new season, and that's something that I guess you always have to look forward to. We certainly did not have a good preseason. No one wanted to have the type of non-conference season we had, but I think we'll see how things go here this week. A big game at Ball State. And I think it's one of those things we can get one under our belt again, get a little confidence going. I still think we can do some good things. But yeah, no doubt it's been a rough couple weeks for the football program. There's no doubt about that. I will say I'll throw in a couple of other sports though. I've got to make sure I throw out our volleyball team, our women's soccer team. Both got off to a great start. Max led. They're 2-0. They both had great wins over the weekend. So good things going on, and we'll get football fixed. I mean, it's again, a lot of teams go through this. We just haven't gone through it in recent years.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that you'll get it fixed as well, because that's a good program. You've got the foundations and more of an outstanding program. And as you mentioned, teams are going to have these sorts of speed bumps along the way, and it's just how they react to it and how they deal with it that'll show.
Riley, I can't tell you the number of times that I've left Husky Stadium, or we've gone to a road game or watched a road game or whatever, where we pulled out victories, and I kept thinking to myself, this is just unbelievable. I mean, we just had such a string where you get down to the end of the game, we'd be down, we'd come back, we'd end up winning. And the number of times that happened over the years was astonishing to me, and I kept thinking to myself, at some point this is going to end, right? We're not going to win every close game. And it seems like recently, anyway, we've had just kind of the flip, where we've been on the wrong side of that. But we'll again, Coach Terry is very big on kind of it's a 1 week at a time. And we got Ball State this week, and if you can get a win and get a little momentum under your belt, who knows what will happen.
All right, we've covered the faculty athletic rep portion of Matt's title there, and talking a little NIU athletics. And by the way, if you're a Husky supporter, keep supporting them. Good things are right around the corner. Now, let's move over to the political science realm. The debate was the other night, and then, of course, there's the battle for the after debate. And give me your thoughts.
I think I'm going to be part of the mainstream media here, Riley. I didn't think it was a particularly good night. Actually, I thought it was a pretty bad night for Donald Trump. I didn't think it was necessarily a great night for Secretary Clinton. I didn't think she made any major gaffes. But I think I'm going to take kind of what you hear most people saying is I thought Trump actually got out of the gate pretty well. I thought he had a good start to the debate. It was bothering me that he was interrupting so much. But other than that, I thought, on some of the trade issues and things like that, he certainly made a case, and I think came across pretty well. But it unraveled as it went further and further into the debate. And what is astonishing to me is I was trying to explain to my students, and I read an article this morning that was essentially confirming this, that Trump clearly didn't prepare for the debate, and his strategist, there is no strategist in the world that is going to say, hey, when she attacks you on your treatment of women, raise Rosie O'Donnell again, right? I mean, so I just don't think he took it very seriously. I don't think he came across very well. And I don't think it was a very good night for him. Now, the question is going to be, does it really matter what happens going forward? A lot of times you see very little change in the polls from the result of a debate. And even when you do see a change in the polls, they're not long lasting. Remember, go back to 2012, the first debate, Mitt Romney utterly cleaned Barack Obama's clock.
Yeah, comparatively
so
speaking.
Much so that Obama's people in the spin room, I think it was the only time I've ever seen this happen where they essentially said, yeah, we just got beat.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing left to say other than, man, we just got eaten alive out there. And
he had a bad night. Yep. But even there was a little bit of bump for Romney, but obviously we saw how that whole thing ended. So, if Donald Trump was running against Donald Trump, his name would be Crybaby Donald. One thing he has to stop is he's got to stop the whining about how people are mean to him. No one cares.
Nope.
About how people are mean to you, right?
No, and at that level, whether it's him, whether it's Hillary, whether it's anybody, I don't want you whining about people being mean to you. You want the toughest job on the planet Earth, and I don't want to hear that you're bothered by people being mean.
Absolutely. And, one thing could be if you're upset that they're being mean, you then stop saying the things that they're hitting you on, right? I mean, so I didn't think it was a particularly effective night. He didn't look, my father actually is a debater. He's a communications professor, and I talked to him afterwards, and he said it just looked like the student who, didn't do the reading the night before and came into class and tried to wing it, and I think there was some truth to that. And what is going to be difficult for Trump's people is Trump is pretty adamant that he doesn't feel comfortable. He has trouble focusing on debate prep, and Clinton did prepare. I thought her worst moments actually were early on in the debate. I thought she was trying to be too cute with Trump when he kind of went after her a couple times early on. She stopped doing that, and I thought she was far more effective down the stretch. So again, what I'm kind of fascinated about now is I'm almost more interested. Everybody is fascinated about the first debate. I'm almost more interested in the second debate because I want to see, does Trump correct, right? I mean, how does he come out of that second debate? And the second debate is going to be an awkward format, too. It's the town hall style debate, which is something he hasn't done a whole lot of. And that can be just ask George H.W. Bush about how he felt about town hall style debates, right? It can be an awkward format. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they play this going forward.
To me, and I agree with you, it could be an awkward format, but it seems to be more into Donald Trump's wheelhouse, which is just, kicking it back and forth with people. Rather than trying to rack up what would be a debate point or follow a structure of how we're used to seeing a debate go about. These are more freewheeling, and he seems to be better in that sort of format. That doesn't mean he won't step on a landmine that he throws out in front of himself. But
here's the thing, Riley. I think that's a very fair point. Here's the thing that I would be nervous as heck about if I was a Trump advisor though right now, right? If you get somebody who asks a question that he doesn't like, right? And how he responds to, let's go back. I mentioned George H.W. Bush, who was looking at his watch at one point when somebody asked him a question about how the national debt has affected him. And he came across as just so disinterested. And compare that to Bill Clinton, who then went out and did the Bill Clinton thing, right? And that was the story of that debate in 1992. If Trump has somebody, and I'm not saying somebody will purposely try to get under his skin like Clinton was, but just ask him a question that he doesn't like, and he responds in a way that is not a good response, that could really do some damage. So I would be somewhat worried about that.
You mean blowing up a civilian kind of thing rather than blowing up a member of the news media?
Absolutely. You go after the news media, you go after your opponent. That's one thing, right? That's expected. But you go after somebody who asked the question who's just a regular citizen, that's going to come off. That's like picking the Golden Star fight. Not quite as bad, but with the family there, the military family from before. So you got to be careful about that. And, the other thing, too, is that, I know Lester Holt has been criticized in some circles for the questions he's asked. And, a moderator never is going to appease everybody. It's such a difficult job. But, instead of complaining about the moderator, just, that's where you got to learn how to prep. If you're not getting the questions you want, right, you have to know how to pivot to make sure that you're getting the issues that you want talked about out there. And Trump wasn't able to do that largely because he came in so thoroughly unprepared. And,
and that's one of the marks that you'll see in a lot of professional politicians. They'll get a question and you'll think to yourself, oh, man, and wow, lo and behold, without the fingers ever leaving their hand, they're onto another topic and they skipped right over it and it was seamless.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, I think too, and Trump would never do this, but if he just came out and said, essentially, like, if I remember correctly, Barack Obama came out the next day and said, "Yeah, I lost. It was bad. I'll do better next time." If Trump came out and said, "Look, this is my whole thing, right? I'm not a politician, and yes, if I didn't have a great performance yesterday, and I'm not used to doing this, and frankly, I did underprepare somewhat, and it won't happen again." Almost kind of like a Marco Rubio type thing,
right?
But I just think that would have been effective instead of coming out and saying, "Oh, the mic was all messed." I mean, it's just regular Donald Trump garbage that nobody cares about, right? And the problem that he has is he's done a nice job with getting people to support him, but he needs to expand that support. And he hasn't need to expand it a whole heck of a lot, Riley, because he's not down by that many points right now. But he needs to find ways to expand it at some point. He's still down. If the election were held today, he'd still likely lose. And he's not going to do it with that type of strategy. I just don't think it's very effective. So I will say it's got to be very frustrating to be a campaign strategist, period. But it has to be very difficult, I think, to be a campaign strategist when you've got a candidate who just really doesn't want to listen to what you have to say. And I don't think that the Trump campaign helped them either, because it seemed like their prep, when they did the prep, it was fairly disjointed. They didn't have the right people in the room, and so it'll be interesting to see how they self-correct and go forward.
Yeah, I will be very interested as well, because this will tell the tale. One of those. Okay, now we told you going in that you shouldn't have gone about it this way, and it worked out badly for you. Are you going to listen this time?
Yeah, and I will say candidates all the time do things. I may have told you this story before. When I worked at Loyola Marymount, I got the opportunity to know Michael Dukakis and Tony Coelho fairly well. They had relationships with LMU, and Tony Coelho was Michael Dukakis' campaign manager. And you remember the 1988 debate with the infamous Bernard Shaw question about if Kitty Dukakis were raped or murdered. One of the things, when he supported the death penalty, one of the things that Dukakis was thought about is he was a policy wonk. He had no personality, which actually, if you get to know Governor Dukakis, is not true. He's actually a very warm person, but that was the public perception, right? And so, they were telling me a story about, they were prepping for this debate. Dukakis, like Trump, hated preparing for the debates, couldn't stand it. But they said, look, there's going to be a time in the debate when you're going to have an opportunity to show your personality. And when that time comes, take it, right? And so Coelho says he's sitting in the green room with George Stephanopoulos, who wasn't George Stephanopoulos at the time. This was well before he became famous and was on the Dukakis team. And the first question tonight is, Bernard Shaw, Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor the death penalty? And Coelho says he and Stephanopoulos turned to each other, they high-fived, and they said, this is perfect. This is exactly, this couldn't have been scripted any better for us. And then Dukakis goes, well, Bernard, as you know, I oppose. Right into his policy wonk, and Coelho said, then we just had to, we had our tails between our legs the rest of the night, and then had to go out to the spin room and spin this. So the point is, I guess, they certainly prep these people all the time, but the delivery and the execution isn't always the way the campaign strategists want it to be done.
Oh, absolutely right. Yeah, I memorized all my lines. I know everything. Oh, wait, there's spotlights, a microphone, there's a crowd. I forgot everything.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to be in a presidential debate. You kidding me? I don't want to be before it was 84 million people. It looks like now that we had. I can't imagine how nerve-wracking that must be. But I will also say, if you're running to be the president of the free world, you got to be able to handle those situations. And again, I don't think it's so much that Trump can't handle the situation. I think it's just simply he didn't prepare and found himself in an environment that he wasn't used to.
And we will be paying attention to the next debate, see how all that shakes out. Matt, as always.
Sniffle, Riley?
But well, according to Howard Dean, I'm a cocaine addict. Matt, as always, thanks for the time. Thanks for the expertise. Go Huskies. We'll look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, Riley. Have a great week. Go Huskies. Talk to you soon.
There's Matt Streb, political science professor and faculty athletic rep at Northern Illinois University.